Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Atomo. My name's Andrew, and I'm going through the Red Book. I'm continuing this journey. I'm doing it mostly for myself, but I'm happy to have people come along on this journey. I got the Red Book in front of me, and in this one, what I think I'll do is I'll break this into two parts. And I'll go through the passages here in the Red Book. I got some of my commentary on it, but I just wanted to make sure I go through the passages so I give you kind of the full experience here, because I find this is really important, because as I'm going through this, he still is going into the spirit of the times, the spirit of the depths, and then we kind of see the child come to be and the interplay of why the child is important, but also he starts to give rise to the anima here, kind of that female feminine spirit that he talks about in some of his later works. So again, the Red Book is kind of a a bit of a summary here. This is a Black Book, and the Black Book contains stories of his dreams, from which he then crafted the Red Book. The Black Book was supposed to be something more private, but I guess the family decided to publish them. So the Black Books are available. My background doesn't cover it up. Oh, well, let's see if I can. Look, see, even the Black Book, it's kind of beamed out of existence on me. Okay, I'm not going to fight with my background today. But so the Black Books are the folios or manuscripts of his dream recordings. And again, he crafted them into the Red Book, which was more for the intents. It was more for public consumption. But again, he didn't want this work to emerge when he was doing his psychological practices. My understanding of it is, at the time, it just wouldn't have been understood that a lot of his theories were built based on just dreams that he was having. That would seem kind of heresy, which even then today, there's certain people who don't, I would say, appreciate the work because of the genesis of it. But that's why I'm going through it. Okay, that aside, let's jump right in. So we're at Soul in God, and I'll start quoting the Red Book. Quote, "On the second night, I called out to my soul." So unquote. He's in that state where in the last chapter, he's calling out to the soul, "Where are you?" Now it seems he's now in dialogue with the soul. But I think there's an important note here to make. Um, in Black Book 2, Jung states that he wandered for 11 years. He had stopped writing this book in 1902, taking it up again in the autumn of 1913. So this book is he stopped, I believe, the writing of the Red Book, and then went to the Black Book, which is not showing up here again. And then continued on, and we'll go into why this was important. So I'm quoting here, "I am weary, my soul, my wandering has lasted too long. My search for myself outside of myself. Now I have gone through events and find you behind all of them. For I made discoveries on my erring through events, humanity, and the world. I found men, and you, my soul, I found again, first in images within men, and then you yourself. I found you where I least expect you. You climbed out of a dark shaft. You announced yourself to me in advance of my dreams. They burned in my heart and drove me to all the boldest acts of daring and forced me to rise above myself. You let me see truths which I had no previous inkling. You let me undertake journeys whose endless length would have scared me if the knowledge of them had not been secure in you. Continuing, I wandered for many years, so long that I forgot that I possessed a soul. Where were you all this time? Which beyond sheltered you and gave you sanctuary? Oh, that you must speak through me, that my speech and I are your symbol and expression. How should I decipher you? Who are you, child? My dreams have represented you as a child and as a maiden. So in the Black Book, in his story, there was the dove that came in, and the dove transformed into a small child, and which then there was an interaction with the child. And this is, and I'll continue on with this. The dove could only come at certain points uh, within the other kind of a time frame. The dove disappeared. So I think this was the way that the soul or the depths was manifesting to him in his dreamscape. It finally came to the point where the dove, the female dove, was able to manifest. The male dove was just kind of away taking care of some other business. I think there's some recollection of the 12 dead, which I haven't quite done enough research on to understand metaphorically what he was talking about with that. I have to do a little bit more reading in book number 2, the Black Book. But let's continue here. So he said, my dreams have represented you, child, and as a maiden. I am ignorant of your mystery. So am I at this point. Forgive me if I speak as in a dream, like a drunkard. Are you God? Is God a child, a maiden? Forgive me if I babble. No one hears me. I speak to you quietly, and you know that I am neither a drunkard nor someone deranged, and my heart twists in pain from the wound whose darkness delivers speeches full of mockery. You are lying to yourself. You spoke so as to deceive others and make them believe in you. You want to be a prophet and chase after your ambition. The wound still bleeds. I am far from being able to pretend that I do not hear the mockery. Yeah, so kind of looking that as the kind of spirit of the depths, kind of taking you down a notch. So you get caught up in the spirit of the times. You're flying high. You're on top of the world, and Jung's pretty successful at this point. Now he's having these dreams, and these dreams are kicking away at his pillars. And then kind of this sets us up for the self, the ego, and parts of the personality that he talks about. But again, we're seeing kind of the genesis of this knocking at him, and he's, through this exploration, he's taking these signs from the depths and making meaning of them. And myself as a coach, there's an importance in meaning making, in understanding ourselves, so that we can be in better service of others. There's getting a range of experiences. There's an art and science where you work on the theoretical ideas and constructs, but also you have experience. So unlike those that say experience is the be all and end all, everything is about experience. And my lived experience is is reality. Uh, Not quite. There's we have to be able to take that experience and to connect it into some sort of mental model or theoretical framework in order to make that experience transferable to others. So if you have your lived experiences in the way that you lived them and you want truth and reality to be connected to those experiences, I have not lived those experiences. So who would be in the right here? And this we're seeing in the culture war happening, because I'm recording this in 2023, where you got those that say my experience only trumps everything. Laws and rules should be congruent to those experiences, but we all can't have those same experiences. So that means we can't take our rule of law and customize it to absolutely everybody, which is what is attempting to be done right now. So this is kind of, I'm anchoring this back because you're seeing kind of that interplay between, well, I kind of got that zeitgeist of the times that's here, but there is an order of operations of rules to the universe and reality here, to which I might not fully understand, because that's just the way the depths is working here. The depths is not making it fully understood. Hence the journey that Jung is going through analyzing his dreams, making sense of the dreams to uncover more of the depths so that he can integrate it with himself. So he's taken some hits and taken some mockery from his dreams. He also made a note, and we'll get into this a bit more, that this time where he needed those years, there was 11 years of wandering. He needed to go places in order to gain enough experiences to develop the models, because he had to see a range of how humanity was manifesting. And through that time, it brings you to here, where he's now like, okay, he's arrived at a point. Now it is time for the teacher to start to show up. It's what we're seeing here. And the teacher's showing up in the form of a child. Let's continue quoting. How strange it sounds to me to call you a child, you who still hold the all without end in your hand. I went on the way of the day, and you went invisibly with me, putting the pieces together meaningfully and letting me see the whole in each part. That was great. So, in a way, he asked, and I think there's a part where it's bringing back to experiences when you kind of really figure out where you want to go, what direction you want to go in, then all of a sudden things can align to help you with that. You've reached a level of awareness. And this is important, especially in Christianity, because Christianity, I'm not going to talk about God fairies and metaphysical and stuff. It's about an ideal. And when you finally realize, okay, here's the ideal that I want to arrive at, then you can start seeing things in life kind of line up. And it's almost like luck that starts to happen. It's no, because you're priming yourself. It's like, I know where I want to go. I may not know the exact path to get there. There's still a lot of fog in the way, but I know who I want to become. I know what I want to do. And so I'm now going to carry the burden needed to get me there. And now that partner can manifest in here, that dove can come, that child can come, in whatever way that it comes for you, it may come. So this is awareness exercise that, and what I'm taking away from this is get that ideal straight. Then don't be so full of yourself, because that's where he was talking about, I babble, I'm stumbling, that being that big expert, that you're impenetrable. You get to a certain point where you're doing so well that you kind of forget the humble in humility of which you've grown up from. Okay, so again, quoting, how strange it sounds to me to call you a child who still hold the all without end in your hand. I went on the way of the day. You went invisibly with me, putting the pieces together meaningfully and letting me see the whole in each part. You took away where I thought to take hold, and you gave me where I did not expect anything. And time and again, you brought about fate from new and unexpected quarters. So there we go again. You're ready. You get to that point. You can go on that journey. You know what you want to be. You know the ideal you want to get to. And then all of a sudden, it might happen that the pieces come into place. And it doesn't mean you can sit back and put your feet up. As you said, he wandered for 11 years, gaining experiences, but just didn't have a model in which to put the experiences together. Now that model is starting to come together. So he's talking about unexpected quarters, continuing the quote, where I sowed, you robbed me of the harvest. And where I did not sow, you gave me fruit 100-fold. And time again, I lost the path and found it again, where I would never have foreseen it. You upheld my belief when I was alone in near despair. At every decisive moment, you let me believe in myself. Look at that. Again, responsibility comes back into play here. It's not that this spirit carried him along and took him for a ride. Again, this spirit was walking alongside of him. Spirit was with him. But the spirit did not take agency from him here. So he let, the spirit was there, did not take agency. Again, so the responsibility was in Jung's case here, was up to Jung to move through the path. So continuing, quote, like a tired wanderer who had sought nothing in the world apart from her, shall I come closer to my soul. I shall learn that my soul finally lies behind everything, and if I cross the world, I ultimately doing this to find my soul. Even the dearest are themselves not the goal, and the end of the love that goes on seeking. They are symbols of their own souls. My friends, do you guess to what solitude we ascend? I must learn that the dregs of my thought, my dreams, are the speech of my soul. I must carry them in my heart and go back and forth over them in my mind, like the words of the person dearest to me. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Why should I henceforth not love my dreams, and not make their riddling images into objects of my daily consideration? You think that the dream is foolish and ungainly. What is beautiful? What is ungainly? What is clever? What is foolish? The spirit of this time is your measure, but the spirit of the depths surpasses it at both ends. Only the spirit of the time knows the difference between large and small, but this difference is invalid, like the spirit which recognizes it. So, when I was reading, I was thinking of the spirit of the times. He's calling this like a measure. But that measure is only a certain amount. The spirit of the depths knows a lot more. It's more expansive, but we don't know that. So you can think of it metaphorically as a prism. So the spirit of the times is a prism. We can hold it up to a beam of light, And then that light can split into the spectrum, and we can see the spectrum. It's like, oh, look, hey, look, there's this red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet thing. Cool. Okay. But is that it? And we know now, back in the day, it might have been like, hey, look, here's light and what we know it. But we didn't know about ultraviolet. We didn't know about infrared, gamma, X-ray, radio waves, and all these other parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. We just don't know about that. So this is the connecting with the dreams. And what Jung is doing is, by connecting with the dreams, he's using the dreams as an exploration mechanism. The dreams, like even my little children dream, and they can come up with some interesting things. Even we dream. So if you do dream recording, when you wake up from a dream and have a journal ready, you can just write down some thoughts about, okay, well, here's some weird things that happened in this dream. Then you can start to see some of these puzzle pieces. Your dreams can take you to places that you've never been, meet people that you've never met before, interact with things that you've never seen before. You say, well, it's just a dream, it's not real. But yet the thought manifested in a way that when you're in that dream, maybe it did seem real. There's dreams where I woke up and I had to kind of wait and kind of figure out where I was, because the dream world was so rich that it felt like I was living another life. And then when I woke up, it's like, okay, I had to kind of take this time to kind of reboot and reorient to what was happening. Those are some wild ones when those ones happen. Yeah, so not saying to he's using this as a mechanism to kind of generate a mental model, and there's discipline that goes with doing dream recording and understanding what the dream is trying to say to you. So if you got a chance to try it, give it a try. So let's continue on. So quoting here, the spirit of the depths even taught me to consider my action in my decision as dependent on dreams. Dreams pave the way for life, and they determine you without you understanding their language. One would like to learn this language, but who can teach and learn it? Scholarliness alone is not enough. There is a knowledge of the heart that gives deeper insight. The knowledge of the heart is no book and is not to be found in the mouth of any teacher, but grows out of you like green seed from the dark earth. Scholarliness belongs to the spirit of this time, but the spirit in no way grasps the dream. Since the soul is everywhere, the scholarly knowledge is not. Again, that dream is coming from the spirit of the depths. Again, the amount that we know from scholarly works is limited. We don't know everything, and that's why we got scientific methods. We have ways of doing empiricism in order to determine that. And then, by again, in the culture wars, no way that we should not let go of this, because again, if we can't develop the models, develop the insights, use rigors of reasoning to help figure this out, we no longer have mental models that we can share with each other. So quoting again, but how can I attain the knowledge of the heart? You can attain this knowledge only by living your life to the full. You live your life fully if you also live what you have never yet lived, but have left for others to live or think. You will say, but I cannot live or think everything that others live or think. But you should say that life I could still live. I should live. And the thoughts that I could still think, I should think. It appears as though you want to flee from yourself so as not to have to live what remains unlived until now. But you cannot flee from yourself. It is with you all the time and demands fulfillment. If you pretend to be blind and dumb to this demand, you feign being blind and deaf to yourself. This way, you'll never reach the knowledge of the heart. So, in this, so how do you, again, he's asking that question, how do you attain the knowledge of the heart? In this example is, well, how can you gain lived experiences but not be in your little silo? So again, I'm just going to invoke culture war here that's happening 2023, where you got those who, again, I was saying the lived experience of them trumps your lived experience. But when you talk with these people that are really all about their experience, you find that I find it tends to be quite shallow. Like they haven't seen, I could say that, have they really seen the depths of depravity? Have you gone through? So for myself, I have to reflect on, I've been through hospitals. I've seen people dying. I've lived in ghetto areas. You've seen kind of how low people can live. And what I found over the times is, back when my family didn't have a lot, we didn't have two nickels to rub together type thing, and we're making do, we weren't necessarily unhappy. But I'm seeing it now today where you have people who do have a lot and they are unhappy. And I lived in communities with people of many cultural backgrounds, and I am thankful of that diversity, because they could always tell you about how it is much worse somewhere else. They can tell you about all the things that they had to go through. And it's not saying that their troubles were more difficult than our troubles. Everybody carries a type of trouble with them. And so going out and seeking people and talking to people about their troubles, seeing other people in trouble, again, with, caution here, don't go so far as to, you see the crack addict walking down the street to who's tripping. That might not be a problem that you want to go and try and solve. Oh, so we're talking about finding experiences that help you see people in different lights, in the way that you may not be getting through the way that you live and the way that you're going through life. Okay. And by going and getting this expanse of experience, go visit different churches, go volunteer at a soup kitchen, go volunteer at a high life gala. I find that really interesting, where, like the church soup kitchen, and I've done work through the church and helping out others, and the amount of thankfulness and just the fact that you can hand somebody a plate of food, a bowl of soup, and that makes their day. And then you can flip around and go to the grandest of galas and just see how people who have everything, but they don't have absolutely everything, get so upset. That's always blown me away. It's like you're there, you're at the gala. There's so many people that can't be at that gala, and you're wearing your niceties. And the fact that, you know, the big sponsor that's putting on the gala, you don't own this person. And just seeing the people, there's certain people that, you know what, that person's not mine or not in my orbit. And just the way that they come apart, especially when alcohol is involved and they start to really beak off about what they really want. And it's like, wow, entitlement, that entitlement so rich. You know, just to see it, and then to see even how what we think has the top upper crust has so much to be thankful for, but they're not. Continuing. The knowledge of your heart is how your heart is. From a cunning heart, you'll know cunning. From a good heart, you'll know goodness. So that your understanding becomes perfect, consider that your heart is both good and evil. You ask, what? Should I also live evil? A spirit of the depth demands the life that you could still live, you should live. Well being decides not your well being, not the well being of others, but only well being. Well being is between me and the others in society. I too lived, which I had not done before, in which I could still do. I lived into the depths, and the depths began to speak. The depths taught me the other truth. It thus united sense and nonsense in me. Yeah, so that's interesting where he talks about, yeah, the heart is both good and evil. So setting us up for the shadow. Um, and in other elements, the dark triad, the Machiavellianism, kind of lying, cheating, and stealing, the narcissism, being all about yourself. So the story I just told about the gala, and kind of the narcissistic type people there, just thinking about themselves, you know, and the type of, you know, sociopathic elements. I think there's also a degree of masochism, sadism that goes in as well, especially the sadism, like just wanting to see other people fail and fall. And saying it gives us glee that somebody that maybe you're looking at as your competition to the other person that's competing to win the favor of the most powerful person in the room at the gala, and she takes a slip on her wine and goes face first into the floor, and yeah, you know, I'm not advocating any sort of violence here or what have you, but you know, those people that, you know, really just don't consider, just don't have that level of compassion. There's that kind of that darkness that shows through, and this goes back to the biblical, the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, what do we mean by meek? They mean wimps. People have no capability whatsoever. No, it's not so. The meek are the ones that they have capability. You know, they have the ability to laugh at somebody else's misfortune, but they don't. And it's like, okay, you know, like, yeah, that person's my rival. They had a really nasty fall. It looks like they might be hurt. You know what? There's like a shred of humanity and compassion to go and walk over and say, hey, be all right? Help them up, help them clean up. Just, you know, basic humanity. Um, I think that's where I was alluding to is, well, what has changed? What is now different? We're seeing kind of that fabric being unwoven. So there's a call to here is find the communities that are supportive, you know, challenge people to be more supportive, challenge people to be a little more compassionate to others, because then that can help pull back on that rivalry element and then think about, you know what, how can we all win at the game? Because the game is not a null sum game. Life, living in the world, it's not a null sum game where if one person wins a bit more, somebody else loses. There's ways to find your particular path in the world. And again, that's what Jung is alluding to when that spirit comes, when that child comes in, the child's walking with them. He knows that, you know what, there is still demands made of him that he has to work towards in order to gain. And the other word I want to use, serendipity, where I was talking about you're ready to do what you want to do. You have the vision, you have the capability, you've been building up that capability, and I kind of finally locked in what it is that you want to do. And now the serendipity can come if you're open to it and allowing that part of the spirit to manifest with you, that you might start seeing things that look like, hey, lucky me. I didn't realize that so and so, I ran into so and so, I haven't seen in a long time, and we caught up a little bit. And next thing you know, they're a little impressed that, hey, I wasn't like the dumb little child of yesteryear. I've actually grown, and you got into a conversation and you kind of realize that, yeah, this person thinks, hey, perhaps I will talk to somebody and there might be an opportunity, and then one thing could lead to another. Next, you have a new job or something, and something else you learn, you get that next block in place that moves you one little step forward towards that ideal. And that's by kind of, again, the meek, pushing back on those Machiavellian dark triad elements and kind of putting that aside, but using the potential energy that they can generate. Yeah, you can get angry, you can get riled up at your rival, but then you bring it back and internalize it in order to build yourself up. Use that energy to power your passion, your engine, not to take somebody down, but can you build yourself higher than that other person? And then that's a true call of character. So let's continue on here. Well-being is between me and others in society. I too lived, which I had not done before, which I still do. I lived into the depths, and the depths began to speak. The depths taught me the other truth. It thus united sense and nonsense in me. I had to recognize that I am only the expression in symbol of the soul. In the sense of the spirit of the depths, I am as I am in this visible world, a symbol of my soul, and I am thoroughly a serf, completely subjugated, utterly obedient. Spirit of the depths taught me to say, I am the servant of a child. Through this dictum, I learn above all the most extreme humility as what I most need. The spirit of this time, of course, allowed me to believe in my reason. He let me see myself in the image of a leader with ripe thoughts. But the spirit of the depths teaches me that I am a servant. I am, in fact, the servant of a child. This dictum was repugnant to me, and I hated it. But I had to recognize and accept that my soul is a child, and that my God in my soul is a child. So, in the next part of this, I'll get into kind of the kind of the yin and yang, the balancing of these elements that Jung brings up. He gets a little bit more into what does it mean to be this child, and is God in his soul the child. So with that, I will see you in the next video, which will be a continuation of this section.